Have you ever looked at a map of America's first planned city? That being Philadelphia, of course. And when I say first planned city, it's a city that was specifically designed with a layout of a grid, which inspired many other American cities to follow with a similar design. Hi everyone, I'm Jose in the great city of Philadelphia, ready to explore the blueprint and layout of its unique grid and the 4 public spaces that line up the borders of its map, with the 5th becoming Center Square at City Hall. This is the city of Philadelphia and the story of its public spaces. The city of Philadelphia, America's first World Heritage City. Visitors come by the thousands to explore the Independence Mall and learn more about the roots of America. And we're treated with replicas of the Constitution painted all over the visitor center. Philadelphia's Old City still has that feeling of a traditional colonial environment where history is written on the walls of the Independence Mall. Independence Hall is at the center of Old City, where the Founding Fathers established a new nation. Philadelphia is a city with memorable architecture that was designed to be a model of a living metropolis for other American territories. The city of Philadelphia, which many people call the birthplace of America, and realistically, Philadelphia holds hundreds of titles and becoming the first to explore, innovate, and launch breakthroughs across the country. And one of those is William Penn's charter to create the utopian city of the New World. When we say first planned city, it was the first in the new American nation to be designed with an urban meets country feel. The streets were made to be wider, with ample space for travel and building homes along the road. And then came the 5 public spaces, 4 being a mirror of each other to add the green country space to the neighborhoods. That being Logan Square, now Logan Circle, Franklin Square, Washington Square, and Rittenhouse Square. At the middle is the main focal point, being the Center Square, where all neighborhoods would gather. It eventually became Philadelphia's City Hall. Our tour begins at Washington Square, the original Southeast Square, designated in 1682, with origins that included a creek and a pond within its grounds. The square began as a burial ground, but later evolved into a gathering place. George Washington himself met in this square to witness the ascension of the first hot air balloon in North America. And the middle of the square contains a beautiful fountain designed by Jacob Mould, who also co-designed the Bethesda Terrace at Central Park with architect Frederick Olmsted. Adjacent to Independence Hall is Washington Square. It gets its name for its close connection to George Washington, but many wouldn't guess what the connection is. This square was actually the final resting place for Washington soldiers before it was surrounded by developing neighborhoods, and it lasted all the way until 1815, when the expanding neighborhood required a recreational environment. This row of flags lead us to the monument, the tomb of the unknown soldier of the Revolutionary War. During John Adams' visit to the park, there were upwards of 2,000 American and British soldiers buried beneath. And the monument contains inscriptions of valor and the heroics of an army who gave their lives for liberty. The square also acted as a gathering place for freed and enslaved African Americans, where they would meet to socialize, but also protect the remains of their loved ones from being exhumed for medical research. The neighborhoods around Washington Square transformed into publishing houses, where we find markers like that of the Pennsylvania Bible Society, who were the first to print Bibles on a stereotype plate, a less expensive distribution method. And you hear the sounds of concrete and horseshoes click away while walking around Independence Mall. You guys look great. You look fantastic.
Thank you. Thanks.
1, 2, 3. William Penn. Penn wanted to bring. Welcome to the classic Rittenhouse Square. Rittenhouse Square is a park in Center City buried beneath the shadows of the high-rises. This statue holds a sundial representing light passing through the seams of the buildings. We're back in Rittenhouse Square, surrounded by some of Philadelphia's most upscale neighborhoods. It was originally known as the Southwest Square, but renamed in 1825 in honor of David Rittenhouse, a descendant of the first papermaker of Philadelphia, who would go on to be the director of the U.S. Mint. That's America's coinage. In the beginning, Rittenhouse Square didn't see much activity. The area was mostly undeveloped land, even a century after the formation of Philadelphia. And when the Industrial Revolution spread throughout the states, Rittenhouse Square found itself surrounded by new construction. It gave life to this urban meeting point. The square is bustling with Philadelphia residents, enjoying the many monuments and fountain within the park center. William Penn's idea of a green county town comes to life with Rittenhouse Square, where people gather to escape from the busy and congested city life. The square is maintained by Friends of Rittenhouse, a private organization in partnership with Philadelphia Parks and Recreations, preserving the beauty of this vintage park. William Penn was the founder of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, an English Quaker with democratic principles that he would spread out throughout the colonies. It was the early inspiration for the United States Constitution. Because of the growing religious tensions and beliefs that clashed with that of the king, Penn and his group sought to find new lands to rebuild their colony, and Penn's chance came with great reward. To rid the kingdom of religious hostility, Penn proposed a purchase of land from the Duke of York and an old debt that was owed to his father, William Penn Sr. It swayed King Charles to give Penn the land, which would later become Pennsylvania. And acquiring this land made William Penn the largest landowner in the world. We head to the northeast region of the city to experience a unique town square, one that has seen many changes from its original design, but still holds a big impact for the growth of the city. Logan Square. It's actually a circle now. So let's talk about it. But first, let me get out of this thing. And more. Logan Square, which is now called Logan Circle, began with the same layout as the other town squares, but was reimagined as a circle in the late 1800s, with a new design mimicking French architecture. Logan Circle took the similar design of the Avenue des Champs-Élysées in Paris, France, and the Free Library and Family Court buildings behind Logan Circle took the same inspiration of Hotel de Crillon and the Hotel de Marine in Paris. And the sounds of joy are heard all over the park as children experience the waters coming from the fountain on this warm day. Logan Circle is bounded by a traffic circle on Ben Franklin Parkway, where the road leads to the Philadelphia Art Museum on one end and City Hall on the other. And as I take one final look at the fountain, I'm stunned by its beauty. The Swan Memorial Fountain might be the most memorable across all 5 town squares. But Logan Circle pulls us into another direction, to the world's largest municipal building and one of the most beautiful in Philadelphia, the town square that became the home for City Hall. The story of Philadelphia's grid and why it's so important dates back to its original blueprint. Thomas Holmes was the surveyor of the land and printed a portrait of the city of Philadelphia back in London. What the people originally saw became a case to lure settlers, an urban design structure with civility and order. Penn wanted to bring a utopian city to the colonies where Philadelphia modeled an English country village. The old country of England influenced the early designs of America until Penn's layout, and that design that spread out across our early cities was an unplanned maze with narrow roads more sustainable for horse and carriage. We make our way to Center City and Penn Square, stopping by Love Park to explore the topography of Philadelphia and the landmark sculpture of brotherly love. The Love Monument was constructed at Love Park during America's bicentennial celebration in 1976, becoming its own icon to the city of Philly. This is Love Park. It's actually right across from City Hall and the Center Square. We crossed to Penn Square to visit City Hall, where the waterspouts launch from within the ground at Dilworth Park, a delightful surprise for visitors. The Center Square, known as Penn Square, once looked like the other 5 parks. Right in the middle of Center City is Philadelphia City Hall at the Center Square, and Market Street goes right through it, from the borough of Milbourne all the way to the Delaware River at Penn's Landing. The highlight of the square is the exquisite City Hall, once known as the tallest building in the world. And the gates open so we can peek inside to the center courtyard. The design of the building is made of granite, limestone, and marble, giving it that majestic appeal and timeless essence. And the tower stands at over 500 feet, when including the 36-foot statue of William Penn that sits atop. At the center of the courtyard is a giant compass showcasing the original city map. The compass's arrows guide us to the direction of the entry points of the courtyard. The crowds are gathered outside the courtyard, making William Penn's vision a reality. And hey, while we're at it, let's relax on the park's swinging benches. Exactly like William Penn planned. So this is the center of the city and the city square. This section of Penn Square is called Dilworth Park, named in honor of Philadelphia Mayor Richardson Dilworth, the last white Protestant mayor elected in the city. Philadelphia's City Hall can be seen from all angles of downtown, as the grid design opens up the wide streets to make this glamorous building stand out in a sea of high-rises. We've reached our final stop. You can't visit Philadelphia without coming across one of its most famous leaders, Benjamin Franklin. His image is scattered all throughout the city for his many contributions to the development of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the birth of America. The Northeast Public Square, or many know it as the Benjamin Franklin Square. It's in honor of the legend. In this very square, Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity by flying a kite with a key attached during a thunderstorm. And while it's still mostly myth, we could feel the weight of history in this particular square. The Ben Franklin Square, named after Philadelphia's most famous citizen, is a fitting end to our giant adventure in Philadelphia. Today, the square has a merry-go-round and a miniature golf, with an active fountain that moves to the music. As I enter the park, I reflect on the square's design, similarities, and uniqueness. William Penn and his team had a revolutionary idea to lay out a utopian city. It was a future-proof design in architecture, as urban renewal reshaped America many lifetimes after Penn's layout. And while dusk begins to close out the day, you can hear the voices of Philadelphia residents quietly enjoying their last minute with the park. In William Penn's original blueprint, Ben Franklin Square was meant to be a commercial center for settlers. But as the years piled on and the city saw more settlers, the Franklin Square experienced a decline in maintenance. It eventually became a place for taverns, bordellos, and citizens facing homelessness, earning it the reputation of Philadelphia's Skid Row. The park was revitalized in 2006 when the Historic Philadelphia Society took management of the square, restoring the 19th century fountain and landscape to the beautiful park that we experience today, conveniently located right off the interstate and a couple of streets from Independence Hall, looping us back to the very beginning of our tour. What a wonderful journey through history and the development of public spaces. William Penn had a great idea to incorporate country living within a city environment. I'm Jose, and if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share. If you want to know more about the city of Philadelphia, please see the links below. Until next time.